Okay, we're just going to be waiting here until 8 o'clock begins. Awesome. One more minute. Get it going. Okay. All right, guys. So welcome to night number 2 of the LD Survival Guide Facebook Live series, where we are doing a 3-night series starting from yesterday until tomorrow, going over navigating new learning environments and all these different areas on being in this place called home, and it's representing school. And I'm really excited to be on. Last night was a technology disaster, so I want to thank all of those who bared with me, and hopefully tonight we won't have any more problems. Okay, so when you do join us, can you please comment where you're from so that our community can see the impact that we're having. Okay, guys, so tonight we're going to talk about building your success squad and how to do that at home and what that even means. But before we begin, I have a little surprise for you. I'm the author of a poem called The Forgotten Child, and it's dedicated to those misunderstood for how they learn. And if you haven't heard this poem yet, tonight's your lucky night, because I'm going to be sharing this with you guys to start us off. All right, so let's begin. I kindly ask you to please shut your eyes so you can fully understand the story that has left me so traumatized. Imagine yourself as the child that always smiled. You were wild, you were beguiled, until the day you were profiled. This is the story of the forgotten child. Now, what I am about to tell you will truly make your stomach churn. They said, I have major concern, Mr. and Mrs., but your child simply can't learn. The child was labeled disabled. He was told face to face that he should stop his chase to a higher education place because he couldn't read any book in the bookcase. This is an absolute disgrace. Those words should never come out of anyone with a knowledge base. From that point on, he was taken out of the classroom all day long, from homeroom to 3 hours past eating in the lunchroom. He became paranoid, full of anxiety and scared because he was told he was impaired. Felt like nobody cared. He was misunderstood as a result of educators thinking he was no good. He just needed someone to think that he could. You see, negative labels are destructive. They're counterproductive and obstructive. Now, I like to ask you to please open your eyes. To some surprise, that forgotten child is standing before all of you guys. He defied the lies of this public educational enterprise. You see, what they didn't know was that this forgotten child had an epic thirst for knowledge he refused to acknowledge. You will never go to college. He took those words and turned them from frustration into motivation. He was lacking that academic foundation, so his parents pulled him out of this cultivation they called public education. Now let me bring something to rouse. Just imagine your academic journey like the construction of a house without the proper support. That house will fall short. He was finally put in a place where his mind was no longer a disgrace. It was a place that built his academic base as strong as an iron case. They saw him for everything he got. This isn't no school of thought. It is something that the public educational system simply did not. And it was the first time that the forgotten child actually smiled since the day he was profiled. Now let me mention one of the most notable individuals in all of mankind with a mind that was also defined like mine. Let's take someone like Albert Einstein, a man of credibility that had a learning disability. He was lacking much valuability despite educators much acridity, but that didn't stop Al's life journey to discovering the theory of relativity. So take a minute while I spit some poetry. What's the difference between you and every person the eye can see? Truth is, there's nothing, because each and every one of us have our own unique ability. Einstein said it perfectly, that everybody is a genius. But if we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it is stupid. Don't you see? Wise man once told me that the power comes from the young people knowing that they could change the world. Don't ever give up your shot. Your minds are all you've got. It's time we change this public educational melting pot, turning your minds into a robot. You get my gist? In this world craving to coexist, it's time that we work with the kids that are missed, with those who fit the mainstream schools perfectly, and then those who learn differently. Together, I insist. My friends, I wrote that poem in a time in my life where I was really confident and have embraced myself, but it wasn't always like that. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to share that with you, something that has allowed me to express myself. And I realized that it's not just the story of me. It's the story of you. It's the story of so many others, those who have been misunderstood for just how they learn. You know, and when you think about it, like, we all learn differently. Every human being, and you know what, my favorite quote? I'm biased because I made it up. But if you think about it, every human being has a brain. We all can agree, right? But no human being has the same mind. I'll say that again. Every human being has a brain. I like to hope. But no human being has the same mind. Now, that's really powerful, and I want you to think about that and let that resonate as we go on for our conversation tonight. So guys, my name's Jake Sussman. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a parent, and no, I'm not a doctor. What I am is your child. I'm your child that is struggling because I'm out of routine. I'm your child that will refuse to pick up a book. I am also your child, though, who is brilliant, who is capable, and just needs to be seen and heard. That is who I am, and that's what I'm doing tonight. So let's get started. Okay, so last night, we spoke about becoming an independent learner, especially while at home. Being out of routine is so disruptive. Having the discipline to focus may be really hard. We spoke about strategies from creating calendars to time management to being able to self-reflect. So now that we've talked about that a little bit, we just scratched the surface. Now we're going to dive into more. What is a success squad in the first place, and why is it so important? And again, guys, if you're watching this and you have questions, please comment away. Hey, Judy, Melissa, nice seeing you guys. All right, let us know where you're from, where you're watching from, and let's get to it here. So a success squad is a group of individuals who are critical to your success and will help in areas of challenge, such as a parent, a coach, a rabbi, a priest, a teacher, or a mentor. These are people that are part of your team, the people that believe in you. And it's so important to remember that, because as we go down our path of self-discovery, the kids and the parents, it's important to remember that there's going to be people in our life that we need, advisors. And these are not just strategies for kids, but even for adults. All adults need some kind of advisor too, because at the end of the day, guys, we don't know everything. These are the people that will help validate you. I'll give you an example of when I discovered the power of having your own success squad. You see, guys, my story begins where I was in public school up until 6th grade. And that was the lowest point of my life, full of fear, anxiety, and stress. My parents pulled me out of school, and I end up in for 6 years, from middle school through high school, I was in two private schools designated for kids who learn differently. Now, I know in life, unfortunately, we're not going to have that corner when we're in our job for employees who learn differently. I'm not going to get extensions on my assignments. I'm going to get fired. So I'm going to have to learn how to quote unquote coexist with everyone else. So that means I want to go to a college that is mainstream. So I went to Roger Williams University, and that was the first time where I was back in the system that failed me. Now, my parents were freaking out. I was freaking out, but I was really determined. And what I learned being at Foreman School, which was my high school, it was a boarding school in Connecticut. What I learned there, though, was the importance of engaging with adults and forming relationships with adults and people that will have your back. For example, I know that I eat a lot of food, so I had to have a sandwich made for me all the time, and I needed to have a food, and I needed to eat a lot. So becoming friends with the kitchen staff was key. Okay, that was part of my success squad because I eat a lot. So when I went out to college, I had to look for the right people that will help Jake Sussman be successful. Okay, so I had the dining staff who they loved. I loved them, they loved me, and that was important, right? I had my teachers, I had my professors, I had my coach, and my parents. All of these different people were important to helping me be successful. And honestly, guys, the importance of this goes, and I didn't realize this until later on, but if you think about it, this is a chance for kids to practice advocating for themselves to a safe individual, someone that knows them and that will listen to them, so that when it comes time for them to be ready to go talk to that teacher that's giving them a hard time or not understanding them, or maybe one day even a boss, to be able to have the confidence to share how they learn and to be able to reflect like that, it takes a lot of practice. So to be able to have that practice with someone that you trust is key. So parents who are watching this, okay, how does this start? Where does this start? Okay. When I was in elementary school, that's really where it started for me. And the conversations that I was having with my parents, I learned the importance of developing a three-way communication channel between me as a student, my teacher, and then my parents. Okay. So again, what happens during parent-teacher conferences usually? Well, the parents go talk to the teachers share information about the child, and then parents come back and relay it to the kids. Okay? So the parents here, in this case, are the messengers between authority, which is teacher, to child. Now, what if we were able to create a conversation of where the child actually joins in these conversations, where the parents actually become the facilitator between authority, which is teacher, and child. And what that's going to teach is an element of taking constructive feedback, being able to communicate if there's a challenge in class. Maybe, if I'm not being reached in reading, let me have an opportunity to share that. And that's so important because now I'm developing a bridge between student and authority. Okay? So that's why creating this success squad is so important. Okay? It's going to help lay the foundation in so many different areas. So again, guys, this is like a place for us to practice being at home. All right? Because we're not in school. We're at home in a safe environment. And for the parents watching this for our kids, okay, I want you to think about what are the different people that are important in your children's life. Okay, it could be maybe their best friend. It could be, like what I said earlier, a coach. It could be a teacher. That one teacher, we all have that one teacher that remember their names. Okay, so who is that teacher, and what role can that teacher play or that individual play in our kids overcoming some of their challenges? Okay, because again, we want them to be able to have trust in this person and practice advocating so that when they're in a new environment, they will be able to communicate to anyone. And that is the goal. And it's funny because I learned this in college, guys. I mean, I used to fear that I was going to be made fun of for my learning difference. And I would be judged because I was a slow reader. I'm an auditory learner. Okay, so would I fall at? Will I be ahead? I was going back in the system that failed me. It was really uncomfortable, especially not being that for 6 years prior to that. But what happened was astonishing because my friends who don't have a learning difference actually came to me because they knew that I look at things differently. Right? Those who learn differently look at the world differently. That's why most people that are successful, entrepreneurs, musicians, actors, all have some form of learning difference because they look at things differently and they look at problems differently. All right, guys? So again, I was shocked because my friends are now using my learning difference to help them, and it was a sense of empowerment for me, and that came with me knowing how I learn, understanding how to advocate for myself. And guys, tomorrow we're going to be diving much deeper into self-advocacy. But this is really the place where we can start. So I want to open this up to questions from you all watching. And, I'm here for you. Again, guys, this is a time where it's an unprecedented time, but an opportunity for us to practice different areas and to help empower our kids to become the advocates that they need. And one last piece that I want to leave also is coming from two different private schools that specialize in LD, I had a lot of different takeaways that I want to share with you because there may be some of you watching this that are saying, Jake, that's great and all, but I can't send my kids to private school like that. I had to keep them in public school. So I want to speak to you for a sec because there are ways that our kids can get the same kind of, attention and confidence, whether they're at a private school or not. It comes all about communication, ability to advocate, knowing who are the people in your life that are your allies. Maybe practice writing it down. Okay, that could be a great activity. Talk to your kids. So who's your friends and why are they your friends? What are they? How can they help you? What's your coach like? Where's an area, someone that can help give you confidence? And start practicing going to them for help, seeing what they have to say. When I mentor kids, that's the biggest lesson that I teach them is, your parents are great. My parents always talked about, my mom was like, Jake, you have to take notes. Taking notes is so important. I didn't get the hint until college. She was saying that, most of my high school. But it didn't click until college. So if I can have someone that maybe wasn't my parent to tell me this, it was a different ball game. And that was my roommate in college that taught me note-taking, which is funny because on my IEPs, it said that communication and note-taking would be very hard. And now it's one of my biggest strengths. So there's so much that we can talk about here, and I know 30 minutes is not a long time. But this is the second layer to diving deeper into the whole area of self-advocacy. Okay, guys? So again, let's reiterate a few more pieces on this, okay? The Success Squad, okay, is a group of individuals who are critical to your success, okay, in areas of challenge. And they're the ones that are going to help you have the confidence, you as in the kids watching and you, the parents, knowing that finding these right people is important to build the team. Okay, Judy asked us, where were some of the tools that helped you in school? All right, that's a great question. So that's a little broad. So I can, if you want to ask a little bit specifically, you can, but I'm just going to start answering that. I think that's a great question. So there are many different tools that helped me navigate different areas of school. I think the biggest lesson that I learned, there's a few of them. Number one, didn't involve school. So the first one was knowing the areas of my strengths, okay, and then embracing my weaknesses. That was the foundation to everything, Judy, because once I knew that, once I knew where my strengths lie in the areas of challenge, then I'm going to say, okay, why am I beating myself up against the wall when I know I'm really good over here? I was the best art student, right? I was the best art student, but when it came to math, I was not the best. But does that make me any less? No. So I needed to have that confidence, okay? So that was number one. All right. And a lot of these things happened in different activities that helped me feel confident and in control. Again, these are not school related, but they're you related. Okay. Because just like in school, just like anywhere, there are going to be times that we're going to be challenged and that there are going to be times that we're going to have our different challenges arise, and we're going to have that form of adversity to come to work through that. But that only comes with having the confidence, Judy. So that's number one. Number two is I actually used to have really, really bad test anxiety. I used to sweat. Oh my gosh, it looked like I used to work out before taking a test. This is all before taking a test. I worked myself up. And the biggest tool that I was taught here was, first of all, to breathe. And then second of all, going through each question and saying, all right, these are the ones I can answer, and all the ones that I can't answer that are hard for me, I'm going to write it up on the top of the page. I'm not even going to think about that until I can answer a few questions that I know, because that's going to help build the confidence and the momentum for me to answer these other questions, and I won't spend all this time on something that is negative or hard, or that's going to require a lot more thinking. If I can just get to it, that was something else. Tomorrow, Judy, I'm going to talk about some strategies on form of a template on how to communicate to some of these teachers and advisors. But I will share, just for the conversation, that when it came time for me to have these conversations with teachers, okay, or with any form of adult, that's someone that doesn't understand how I learn, right? I need them to understand that Jake Sussman needs accommodations of someone who's blind. Now, as you can see, I'm not wearing glasses, although I do have glasses. I'm not blind. But I needed for them to understand the severity of accommodations. My teachers had to understand that. And for teachers that are dealing with so many different kids, guys, parents, this is important here. Teachers are dealing with so many things. There are reports coming out left and right talking about how teachers are being, reporting being stressed, feeling overworked. Okay, they're dealing with so many different challenges in the classroom as well, especially now. Okay, So they're also struggling. It's a much bigger problem in our system. But the things that we can control here is that communication, having the teacher feel like you're also there for them, right? I always told my teachers and asked them, what got you inspired to being a teacher? Why are you a teacher? Why are you teaching this subject? And that helped me have that conversation with them and open up a relationship, because relationships here are key. And that's really the core of it, guys. Building relationships, knowing that you're not the only one that's struggling. As you can see, there's all these different communities, Facebook groups for parents and for kids who learn differently that are going through the same things, right? So we're not alone, okay? It's all about sharing and building relationships. And that's why building your team of a success squad is critical, because you're learning relationship building, communication, and many different ways on self-advocacy, to start off. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Judy, on that teachers are not necessarily taught how to identify or help someone with dyslexia. For me, guys, I know that it's so easy to be blaming, to be pointing fingers outwards, right? I'm looking into the teacher training, okay? Because, where are these teachers getting trained? And what's actually the missing link here? And there's a great book that I want to recommend, and it's called Permission to Feel. It's by the director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, Mark Brackett. It's an awesome book that talks just about this, Judy, about how we have students reporting high levels of being stressed and overworked, and also teachers. So it's a much bigger problem, but we'll really be able to paint a better light and perspective on what's going on in the world of emotional intelligence and regulation and all of that stuff, which I think can help advocacy in dyslexia and getting accommodations for our kids. Thank you, Lexa, for that comment. Carrie, thanks for joining us. And I'm going to stay on for a little bit more to answer any more questions. I know that we're a little bit early here. And guys, I know I said this yesterday, but I do run a mentorship program for kids. And this could be with anyone around the world watching this that has access to an internet and camera. And for kids that, from third grade, even through college, okay? The importance of having a mentor, someone that can say, I don't just get you and hear you, but I've actually been through what you've been through. That's really important, to have someone to relate, have that relationship, the mentor, okay? Someone part of that team. That's what I'm doing for kids and families right now that are in the same boat. So if you want to have more information, you can either reach out to me or visit my website at www.superpowerconsulting.com, and you can request more information. I offer a 4-week mentorship program. I also offer it hourly for the remainder while schools are closed at $60 an hour. Parents can buy in packages or just, through just per hour. But I'm here for you. I feel you. And we're going to all get through this together, guys. Okay? It's actually my cousin who I was speaking to from San Francisco, who also has dyslexia. He was sharing with me that he was sharing that for the first time, he actually sees the importance of school. He misses school. Kids are missing school. They're missing their friends. And I think this is a big moment in education. This is a big moment in education, and I am excited to see what's going to come from such a dark time that we're in now. But the momentum that's going to bring for us as advocates for the world of neurodiversity, dyslexia and ADHD, accommodations, and the transformation of our education system. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And one last thing, Tomorrow, I have to change our time due to Passover, and we're going to be starting at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and I will be setting out an updated calendar very shortly. Again, ask me any questions you guys have, and have a great night. And don't forget, stay healthy, wash your hands.